Good evening. Hello. Good evening. Am I audible? Okay. I guess. Okay. Okay. Good evening, Roshan. Let's start. ഇന്ന് ക്ലാസ്സിന്റെ കാര്യം നേരത്തെ പറയാൻ എനിക്ക് താമസിച്ചുപോയി. സമരം എന്നുള്ള കാര്യം ഓർക്കുന്നില്ലായിരുന്നു. ക്ലാസ് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ എന്നൊരു അസംഷനിലാണ് ഞാൻ ഇരുന്നത്. പിന്നെ സമരം അറിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് പെട്ടെന്ന് തീർക്കാലോ ഒരു ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കാനോ. ഓക്കെ. സോ എല്ലാവരും അറിഞ്ഞായിരുന്നോ ക്ലാസ്സിന്റെ കാര്യം? Right. So we'll start. We have seen the geological history of peninsular India. Now, അടുത്ത നമ്മുടെ സിലബസിൽ പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്ന കാര്യം എന്താണ്? Structure, relief, and drainage എന്നുള്ള കാര്യമാണ്. So we'll be looking at structure and relief of peninsula in the next in the following classes. Following couple of hours, we'll be looking at that. Right. So drainage we'll deal with it separately. We'll deal as Himalayan drainage and peninsular drainage. So we'll see the structure and relief of the peninsula broadly, as I said. Like we'll look at a couple of subdivisions of peninsula in particular, and then we'll also see some basic things about most important things. We'll just mention about the other parts of the peninsula, and after that we'll go into the evolution and again structure and relief of Himalayas, and then we'll come to drainage. So these would be the order in which we'll be proceeding today. Okay, so we'll see. So if you look at peninsula as such, we can see peninsula is not a single unit. We had seen that yesterday itself. The peninsula is not a single unit. It's made up of different cratons and other sedimentary basins which are there. These are constituted, and some of the mountain ranges which are there. These formulated the what you call as the peninsula. So if we can roughly we can say peninsula is a kind of a triangle where you have the Western Ghats on one side, Eastern Ghats on one side. Maybe you can say Satpura here, and then again you can add another triangle here. You can say Satpura here with the India's Aravalli and the rest of the plateaus. Okay. This would be a structure and one outlying unit, that is the Meghalaya plateau. So we can represent that in this manner. So we have a couple of different units of peninsula. So let's see which all are the major units of the peninsula. A peninsula can be broadly divided into a couple of parts. Right, 5 to 6 parts we can divide the peninsula into. So first of all, we'll see the classification. How can we look at the different units within? So we'll say first of all, from the north, we'll start with Central Highlands. Now, Central Highlands refers to all these part of peninsula which are found to the north of Indian ranges. We have Aravalli there, we have the Malwa Plateau there, we have the Bagelkhand there. Okay, so these are Bundelkhand, not Bagelkhand, Bundelkhand there. And then you have the Deccan Plateau. Okay, now Deccan Plateau will be composing of mostly these Karnataka, Telangana, Maharashtra Plateau. Those would be the Deccan Plateau. Then of course you have the Eastern Plateaus. It's composed of several units. So we can mostly we see Chotanagpur Plateau, the Chhattisgarh basin area, Chhattisgarh Plateau, the Midland Basin there, the Shillong Plateau, the Dandakaranya Plateau. These constitute the Eastern Plateau. And then you have the two mountain ranges, which is the what you can call as the Western and Eastern Ghats. You can find it here. And along with the peninsula itself, actually coastal plains are beyond outside the peninsula. So for practical purposes, we consider coastal plains as along the as also a part of the peninsular region. So we'll be dealing with these 6 physiographic units, subunits of the peninsula. Okay, so this would be what our first discussion would be about. These are different regions. We have to identify different aspect about different factors about these particular landforms. Now, something we would have studied already in the geomorphology part is that the ideas like structure, relief, these ideas have already been studied. So now let me ask you, what do you mean by structure? Non-structure. Structure.
Sir, total environment means
Structure is a geomorphology concept. It's something about geomorphology.
like hilly terrain, forest, plains. Structure.
Okay, no? Elaborate here. So basically, structure refers to structure can be in a two way. In a minimal meaning, structure talks about lithology. Okay, structure talks about lithology. Lithology means what? The type of rocks or the nature of rocks found there. The chemical composition. What is that? Maybe you will say basaltic rocks. You will see granitic rocks, limestone rocks. Okay, so നമ്മൾ ഡിവീസിന്റെ ആ ഒരു തിയറി പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നുണ്ട് എന്താണ് സ്ട്രക്ചർ പ്രോസസ് ആൻഡ് ടൈം 3 factors are there which determines evolution of a landform, cycle of the evolutionary cycle. So one is that structure. Now structure is a very important one. What is structure? Primarily it talks about the nature of the rocks that is there. Structure is an idea that talks about the type of rocks and the different features of that rocks. And most important one is lithology, that the chemical, what kind of rocks that is. Broadly, we can see the igneous rocks, the metamorphic rock, and the sedimentary rock. And within that, we have different kind of rocks. Igneous basaltic and granitic and sedimentary, you can see limestone. Metamorphic, you can see marble. Okay, gneiss. Different kind of rocks can be seen. Now, lithology is one factor. Now, the next one is arrangement. What is arrangement? The nature of the slope, steep slope, gradual slope. So what is the type of slope? Deformations, if at all that is there. Maybe you can, sometimes you have fold. The structure of the land would be folded. Sometimes it would be block mountains. Sometimes it would be escarpments. Sometimes it would be plateaus. So depending upon the nature of the deformation of the land that has happened, you can say that is about the arrangements. And then you have the characteristics of the rock. Characteristics mostly talks about the ideas of its relationship with water. So it's permeability. Okay, percolation, nature of percolation in this region. So these are few factors. What do you call as and if some other characteristics if at all there. So best example is limestone. Limestone characteristics that it is soluble in water. So sinkholes ഉണ്ടാകും, underground cavern structures ഉണ്ടാകും. So structure basically talks about the nature of rocks, and in fact rocks are the one that builds the particular landform. For the plate എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ ഇന്ത്യൻ പ്ലേറ്റിനെ കുറിച്ച് സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇന്ത്യൻ പ്ലേറ്റിന്റെ സ്ട്രക്ചർ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ the type of rock that is found there, the type of deformations or the slope or the kind of steepness, this type of slopes, that is found in that region. That is the arrangement, characteristics of the rocks there. We can talk about the permeability of water. For example, if you look at generally groundwater table is low in peninsular India. Why? Because it is mostly igneous rocks which have low permeability. But at the same time, in some of the regions, in some regions of peninsula, you will get good amount of groundwater. Obviously, those will be the region of sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are permeability. Sedimentary basins which were formed as a result of erosion of the mobile beds, the mountain beds. Okay, so sedimentary basins you will get more groundwater. Groundwater table would be higher because there the percolation of water would be on the higher side. So, so this is basically the structure. Now, relief is the next factor. In fact, relief is most commonly understood. What is relief? Relief is what? This could be of different type, first order, second order, third order reliefs are there, but normally it takes about how the height of the altitude of the landform is what basically we talks about, the angle into which it is sloping, the direction in which it is sloping. So if you look at the different parts of what you call as peninsula has different relief. If you look at Aravalli, that is a kind of a mountain range which has about 900 plus meter height in general. If you look at the peninsulas, that is the Karnataka Peninsula, which has about 600 plus meter height. On the other hand, if you look at Western Ghats, they are very lofty escarpment mountains that even goes up to 2,800 meter in the Anamudi canal, and Dodawata is 2,600 meter. So this is basically the relief and this is the structure. So why this is important is that example structure of a particular landform structure and relief direct for example direct so we need to understand the structure and relief properties of the landforms that is found or the units that is within the peninsular India. Okay, so we introductory we'll move into the different units that is there. Okay. The general relief and slope of Indian Peninsula. Journalistic argument, general view overview. The general relief and slope of Indian Peninsula can be gauged by the All India water divide formed by Aravallis, Vindhyas, Satpuras and Western Ghats. This is the water divide. Now, water divide is that divide which act as a boundary between rivers flowing in different directions. So, if you look at the water divide in case of peninsular India, you can see that rivers mostly obey the water divide. There is not many rivers which cross across the water divide. So the rivers from this area flows into the Gangetic Plain. These flows towards the eastern coastline. Then there is the west flowing rivers, and Narmada and Tapi is there, which is flowing along the Rift Valley or the faulted zones. So this basically shows the relief and slope. So wherever relief reflection in the relief is best reflected in the drainage pattern. Drainage direction obviously drainage mostly will be following the drainage will be consequent in nature in the direction of the slope and its gradient. Rivers will be flowing. So if the slope is towards eastern India, it should be flowed towards the east. When the slope is towards northeastern India, northeastern direction. So the rivers like Banas, Chambal, Son will flow from the Vindhya Satpura belt towards, or the Aravalli belt towards Gangetic plains. So this is basically the water debate. Okay, so clear on that. I think be clear on what is water debate. Okay, so the water debate is formed by Aravalli mountain ranges, Indian mountain ranges, Satpura mountains, and Western Ghats. So that acts as a debate between where, and these are also the loftiest position. Like പെനിൻസുലയുടെ ഒരു കാര്യം നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഈ മൗണ്ടൻ റേഞ്ചിൽ നിന്ന് പിന്നെ സ്ലോപ്പ് കുറഞ്ഞു ഇതാണ് ഏറ്റവും ഹയസ്റ്റ് പോയിന്റ്. ഇവിടെ നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ആരവല്ലി ഇവിടുത്തെ ഏറ്റവും ഹയസ്റ്റ് പോയിന്റ്, വിന്ധ്യ ഏറ്റവും ഹയസ്റ്റ് പോയിന്റ്, സത്പുര ഏറ്റവും ഹയസ്റ്റ് പോയിന്റ്, വെസ്റ്റേൺ ഘട്ട്സ് ഏറ്റവും ഹയസ്റ്റ് പോയിന്റ്. അവിടെ നിന്നാണ് പിന്നെ രണ്ട് സൈഡിലേക്കും ലാൻഡ് സ്ലോപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് എന്താണ് സീ ലെവലിലേക്ക് എത്തുന്നത്. സോ അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ this is a water debate, and that best reflects the relief and slope of peninsula. So Aravalli, Vindhya, Satpura, and Western Ghats, which determine the flow of rivers. As revealed by the flow of Luni and its tributaries. As revealed by the flow of Luni and its tributaries. Slope in the northwestern of India. Slope in the northwestern India, that is here, this part, is westerly. The rivers normally flow towards the west. But later becomes southwesterly. In the parts of Tar and Kutch platform. We are seeing the relief pattern of the peninsula. So here, this is the condition. Initially, the rivers flow west, and then the slope is in a southwesterly direction. That means what? The land is sloping in a westerly and southwesterly manner. Aravalli is in southwesterly, westerly manner land. The Rajasthan land slope mostly the Maristali Tar desert region. Towards the north, now we have to look at this location. Towards the north here, northeast part, this is the Malwa Plateau, the Central Highlands region. Okay. Flow of Chambal, of rivers like Chambal, Banas, Son reveals that Chambal, Banas, Son reveals that the relief, the slope, the land slopes towards the north. The land first slopes towards the north. Towards the north, and then becomes easterly in Indo-Gangetic plains. Okay, so if you look at most of the rivers that is flowing in this region, so rivers like Chambal, which originates from India, it will move towards the north. It will go into Kota, those regions of Rajasthan, these regions of Rajasthan, will move like this, and then attains an easterly direction. Okay, so ആ രീതിയിലൊരു വളഞ്ഞ് ഒഴുകുന്ന ഒരു റിവേഴ്സ് ആണ് പൊതുവെ ഈ region നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ പറ്റുക. So the river is also something like that. So that means what? The land here from the Vindhyas, the peninsular part is sloping towards the Indo-Gangetic plains. It's because of the collision. When the collision has happened, peninsula was actually situated somewhat below the Eurasia. Eurasia to peninsula Eurasia. So because of that, there was a tilting of land. There was a tilting of land. So there was a depression created, and there was an easterly tilting. So that leads to what? This kind of north and northeasterly flow of rivers, and that is reflection of the relief there. In the southern Indian peninsula, on the western side, in the western coastal plain, in southern Indian peninsula, on the western side, in the southern western coastline, slope is very steep. Slope is very steep, and westerly in nature, Okay, very steep and southerly in nature. Very steep and westerly in nature, sorry. As revealed by the rivers originating from Western Ghats. So these rivers, if you look at it, Western Ghats is steeper. The slopes are steeper towards the western coastal plain. അല്ലെ നമ്മൾ ഇവിടെ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ കേരളത്തിന്റെ ആ സൈഡിലേക്കാണ് വെസ്റ്റേൺ ഗട്ട്സ് ഭയങ്കര ഹൈറ്റ് പെട്ടെന്ന് അറ്റീവ് ചെയ്ത് സ്റ്റീപ്പർ ആയിട്ട് നിൽക്കുക. തമിഴ്നാടിന്റെ ഒക്കെ സൈഡിലോട്ട് വരുമ്പോഴത്തേനും കുറച്ചും കൂടി ജെന്റലി സ്ലോപ്പിംഗ് ആണ്. കർണാടക സൈഡിലോട്ട് കർണാടകയുടെ പെനിൻസുലർ പാർട്ടിലേക്ക് സ്ലോപ്പിംഗ് ആണ്. പക്ഷെ നമ്മുടെ വെസ്റ്റേൺ കോസ്റ്റ് ലൈനിലേക്ക് പെട്ടെന്ന് കയറിയും അതൊന്നും നമ്മൾ എസ്ക്രാപ്മെന്റ് എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്നത് തന്നെ. ഈ ഒരു ഷേപ്പിലുള്ള മൗണ്ടൻസ് ആണ് നമ്മൾ എസ്ക്രാപ്മെന്റ് എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്നത്. So because of that reason, the rivers flowing down this direction towards the western coastline will obviously be following westward direction because അങ്ങോട്ടാണ് സ്ലോപ്പ് കിടക്കുന്നത്. അത് മാത്രമല്ല സ്ലോപ്പ് is ഭയങ്കര steeper slope ആണ്. Because of that, the water will be flowing in a very swift manner, right? Flowing into Arabian Sea. But in the rest of peninsula, especially in rest of the southern peninsula, the flow of rivers is easterly and southeasterly as revealed by rivers like easterly and southeasterly as revealed by rivers like Godavari, Krishna, Subarnarekha, Mahanadi. So all these rivers are flowing in an eastward direction. Mahanadi flows somewhere like this, starts from again the Amarkanda Plateau and flows to south. Subarnarekha flows east southeasterly. These all flow southeasterly, and mostly Krishna, Godavari are all flowing in a more easterly direction, although the southerly element is sometimes missing. Okay, so generally what one direction that we can see is that peninsula in its southern part is sloping towards east. Okay, east towards the Bay of Bengal region. On the western side, the small western coastline, it is sloping towards the west, and the slope is steeper. The relief is steeper on the western side and gentler on the eastern side, gentler here. And here is steeper. Okay, now that we have seen relief, you can also see a few things about structure. So my question is like, what kind of rocks do you see mostly in the peninsular part? The rocks are here. And the type of lithology എങ്ങനെയായിരിക്കും? So okay, so let me prove you. Generally speaking, see structure എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ നോക്കേണ്ടത് ഏത് ടൈപ്പ് റോക്ക് ആയിരിക്കും. ഞാൻ മുമ്പേ ഒന്ന് പറഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു, these are igneous rocks, mostly igneous rocks, and some regions it will be having sedimentary pattern. So in general, the peninsular plateau is made up of Archean rocks, Archean rocks in the nature of gneisses and schist. Either what you call as the igneous rocks are found, and or its metamorphosed formations are found to be in the peninsular part mostly. So these are crystalline rocks. Mostly the areas like Aravalli, the Deccan Plateau, Bundelkhand, Telangana Plateau. Telangana Plateau is part of Deccan Plateau. So these are the regions where you see these kind of structures. Archean crystalline rocks can be found. On the other hand, you have somewhere the sedimentary rocks. Certain belts are sedimentary in nature. Remember, these regions have been formed primarily by the deposition of deposition of the deposition caused by the erosion of mountainous belts created using the Proterozoic period. So these include mostly the Vindhyan belt is sedimentary. The Thar Desert part is again sedimentary in nature. Similarly, the Kadapa Basin. Kadapa Basin is again sedimentary in nature. So that's the way the lithology of our peninsula is arranged. So it generally, mostly is Archean gneisses characterized by crystalline rocks. Okay, in some part you can also see sedimentary nature, which can be explained using the geological history that we study. Right now, as far as what is arrangement is concerned, structure has different components. Arrangement is concerned, peninsula is mostly made up of what number of individual plateaus and hills. So it's an aggregation of several hills and plateaus together, which creates the physiographic unit of peninsular plateau. Okay, so subunits under, and these are interspaced with rivers and valleys. For example, if you look at Maharashtra plateau is something like this. You have several mountain ranges there. Right, so Ajanta, you can there, Balaghat is there, Satmala is there, Harishchandra is there. So even when you say this Maharashtra plateau, it's not just one plateau, something like this. Plateaus are tablelands, right? So it's not just a single tableland, but rather created by several individual hills, hill and valley, hill, and then a valley. There's a hill again, and then there's a valley. This is the way the plateau is arranged. Not everywhere, but mostly Maharashtra hilly region. But even in the case of like after Maharashtra, we have Satpura, then there is a Rift Valley, then there is Vindhyas, then there is the other, what do you call as the Central Highlands region is there. Now, if you look into the south also, we can see like, here there would be the Krishna fault region, the Godavari, Mahadi fault basin. So these plateaus are interspaced by valleys, which are filled by rivers, mostly rift valleys. Okay, so we've seen that. So this is a broader context of the physical setting of India as far as physical peninsular plateau is concerned. Okay, അപ്പോൾ ഇത്ര കാര്യങ്ങൾ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് എഴുതി വെച്ച് നോക്കുക. ഞാൻ നമുക്ക് തന്നെ എല്ലായ്പ്പോഴും ലോങ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള നോട്ട് ഡിക്റ്റേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനില്ല. So kind of sometimes it's factual things, so we need to just note this down. Okay. Now, after that, we have to see peninsula as a whole, and let's see like which are the different units and study some of the characteristics of this units. So we have said it can be divided into six divisions. Peninsular plateau can be divided into six divisions. Now let's try and see which all are the different okay, we have seen the divisions already. So we'll look at couple of divisions of the peninsular plateau and see what is their nature. We'll write a few things on that, and then we'll move into like we'll have an overview of each of these peninsular units, and then we'll move on into the other part. So something we can do, കുറച്ച് കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് കുള്ളറിൽ നിന്നൊക്കെ കുള്ളർ ബുക്ക് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, കുള്ളറാണ് ഐ തിങ്ക് വി ആർ ഓൾ യൂസിങ് കുള്ളർ ഫോർ ഇന്ത്യൻ ജോഗ്രഫി. സോ കപ്പിൾ ഓഫ് പോയിന്റ്സ് വിൽ ബി ടേക്കൺ ദർ. ഓരോ പെനിൻസുലാർ റീജിയനിലെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ കൃത്യമായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട് അതിന്റെ അകത്ത്. ഓൾ വി ഹാവ് ടു ലുക്ക് ഈസ് ദാറ്റ് എന്താണ് ഇതിന്റെ ഒരു ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടീസ് എന്തൊക്കെയാണെന്ന് മാത്രമാണ് നമുക്ക് നോക്കാൻ പറ്റും. സോ ഇനിഷ്യലി വി വിൽ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് വിത്ത് ദി Central Highlands. Okay, Central Highland is a region of the peninsula that is mostly found in the northern part, and we have the Aravalli Sea. Aravalli is also is there. So this is a broad region of Central Highlands. Okay, the Central Highlands. Central Highlands എന്താണ്? Central Highlands തന്നെ പല nature ഉണ്ട്. ഒന്ന് one part it is the Thar Desert. On the other hand, you have the Malwa Plateau here. Malwa Plateau. You have the Bundelkhand Plateau here, right? And the south of it, you have the Vindhyan ranges that is there. So all these are what you call as landforms with different properties. So we need to see the structure, the relief, and of all these particular units. So അതാണ് നമ്മളിവിടെ ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. Fine. If you look at Central Highlands, one of the first regions that we can talk about is the Thar Desert. Platform. It's a sedimentary platform. നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു എന്താണ് എങ്ങനെയാണ് താർ ഡെസേർട്ട് ഫോം ചെയ്തത്. ഞാൻ ഇന്നലെ പറഞ്ഞ ആ ഒരു ഇവല്യൂഷൻ ഹിസ്റ്ററി മൊത്തം ഇതാണ്. You can easily identify how each of these forms are, each of these areas are formed. പറഞ്ഞ എങ്ങനെ ഫോം ചെയ്തത്? എങ്ങനെ ഫോം ചെയ്തത് പറഞ്ഞു. സിമ്പിൾ ആണല്ലോ. നന്ദു എന്താണ് ആൻസർ?
അവരൊരു വോൾക്കാനിക് എറപ്ഷൻ നടന്നിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല പ്ലേറ്റിന്റെ. സോ അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഇപ്പം വോട്ടേഴ്സ് അങ്ങോട്ട് ഇപ്പം വെള്ളം വന്നിട്ട് അങ്ങോട്ട് ഇറങ്ങി പോകാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ലാത്തൊരു സ്ഥിതി വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആ ഒരു ഭാഗത്തായിട്ട് ഒരു വോൾക്കാനിക് എറപ്ഷൻസ് നടന്നിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ലേ?
അത് മാൾവ പ്ലേറ്റിലാണ്. മാൾവ പ്ലേറ്റ് more to the south of it. Aravalli ഈസ്റ്റിലെ പാർട്ടിലാണ് മാൾവ പ്ലേറ്റ്.
അപ്ലിഫ്റ്റ്മെന്റും റിജുവിനേഷനും റിവേഴ്സ് ഒക്കെ ചില റിവേഴ്സ്
കാര്യം നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു അല്ലെ. അത് എന്താണ് ബാത്തോലിത് എംപ്ലേസ്മെന്റ് ഉണ്ട് അരവല്ലി ഹിൽസ്. ദാറ്റ് വാസ് ദേർ. പക്ഷെ അരവല്ലിയിൽ നടന്ന കാര്യമാണ്. ഇവിടെ ഈ ഒരു പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോം ഉണ്ടായത് എങ്ങനെയാണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇറ്റ്സ് എ സെഡിമെന്ററി പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോം. സോ ദാറ്റ് വാസ് ക്രിയേറ്റഡ് ബൈ ആഫ്റ്റർ ദി ഫോർമേഷൻ ഓഫ് Aravalli mountain belt, and then the marine transgression of the tertiary period. All these period, it is in these periods that the sedimentation has happened in this region. So it is through that sedimentation the Thar Desert platform has been created. Okay, so that's the genesis of it. Now if you look at the some of the properties there, these are what and obviously rejuvenation of Aravalli has led to what? Dismemberment of rivers, and that is given it a arid characteristics. Okay, so it's a semi-arid to arid landscape dominated by Aeolian process. Aeolian process എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ്? Wind erosion ആണ് നമുക്ക് സാധാരണ നമ്മുടെ ഇവിടെയൊക്കെ what Davis called as normal erosion എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് എന്താണ്? River അല്ലെങ്കിൽ water based erosion system ആണ്. But these are semi-arid regions, so it is dominated by Aeolian processes. Wind induced what we call as wind induced exogenetic processes are more common here. Okay, so that is one particular aspect about what you call as Thar basin. Now we know the relief feature already. Relief is that it slopes towards the eastern, sorry, not eastern, western. Slopes in a western direction, and then here in this part we know just a couple of minutes ago we wrote that it has achieved a south westerly slope. So that's the relief feature of Thar desert. Now ask for Nandu. Okay, yeah, there was like the Thar desert platform was not a desert per se earlier. It was relatively fertile and water rich area, but this dismemberment of rivers has started to happen after the rejuvenation of Aravalli, and after that, over a period of time, the rivers got rivers in the Shakti and also some other factor to do with was the main river was Saraswati. Saraswati Yamuna has done a river capture. River capture is a morphological concept whereby two rivers are flowing like this, and this one is doing a headward erosion. I think there was a question about headward erosion a couple of years back in UPSC. So this thing is happening, and finally the river will be captured. So the earlier this river was flowing in this direction, and the new river has actually captured. So this has occurred in the case of Saraswati and Yamuna. Yamuna has captured some of the streams from Saraswati, and thus these two factors together led to the the rise of aridity in the Thar platform. So the dismemberment of rivers after the rise or rejuvenation of Aravalli is the main point here. So that then led to what all these formation of Great Indian Desert. So again, we can point out other factors like other features to the Thar platform, that is the Great Indian Desert and the Marustali. Okay, Marustali represents the Thar platform where very low precipitation is received. Okay, so another feature can be the presence of sand dunes as part of the Aeolian process. Okay, and then a couple of points to the western side. Sorry, to the eastern part of the Thar platform between the Aravalli Hills. You have something called as the Rajasthan Bagar, okay, which are kind of what more or kind of less arid or more humid region where little small streams from the Aravalli is coming in and more water is available. So it's kind of a grassland region. So on the western margin, you have a desert, proper desert in the form of Thar desert. But then on the western margins of Thar desert, the Thar platform, you have kind of a grassland which is created by the streams that are flowing from Aravalli. Okay. So this would be a feature of the the Thar Desert, Thar platform. So couple of points I have identified. The structure I have identified that the relief has been identified. The type of erosion processes have been identified. Similarly, the different subunits within that particular region has been identified. Okay, so what we are doing is that we are looking at central highlands. We are trying to understand the structure and relief of central highlands. So we'll just write a couple of points with respect to the Thar Desert, whatever I mentioned now. So you can take a map, draw a map, and show the region here. So we have the Aravalli. Aravalli is broad in the south, and the tapers are most to the north. So we have the Malwa Plateau here. The Rajasthan platform is here. Within that, you're seeing these two parts that is being there. First is the Great Indian Desert, and this is the Rajasthan. Similarly, you have the Indians here, Satpura here. So you have the Malwa Plateau, you have the Bundelkhand region here, and these all combines together to form the Central Highlands. Okay, draw that. Okay, Thar platform. That is one unit. What we're dealing with here is the Central Highland. And we are seeing one part within the Central Highlands. Okay. So right, a few points. In this manner, we have to basically study the different parts of the peninsula. That's what we are required to do. Okay, so we'll start. First one, Thar Desert. Like a couple of points. Thar Desert is semi-arid to arid landscape. Semi-arid to arid landscape covered by Aeolian sedimentary deposits. The formation of the Thar Desert, Thar platform, Thar Desert started with the formation of the Thar platform started with the creation of Aravalli in Purana period. Aravalli in the Purana period, when there was a which led to the development of sedimentary basins, sedimentary basin platforms of the Aravalli. Sedimentary basin platforms of the Aravalli. During marine transmission period, during the tertiary marine transmission period, further sedimentation occurred here. Sedimentation occurred and led to the extension of Thar platform. The final stage of evolution corresponds with the Quaternary period. Quaternary period, when rejuvenation of Aravalli has led to the dismemberment and disappearance of dismemberment and disappearance of rivers, which made the land more arid in nature. Which made the land, the platform more arid in nature. Two parts can be identified. Two parts can be identified to the Dhar platform. The first one is Great Indian Desert. The Great Indian Desert represents two deserts created by absence of relief features, which leads to very low precipitation. So if you can think the case of monsoon winds causes rainfall wherever there is elevation. Elevation ഉള്ള സ്ഥലത്ത് മേ ബി അതിപ്പോൾ കത്തിവാർ ഗുജറാത്തിന്റെ സൗത്ത് നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ കത്തിവാർ പെനിൻസുലയാണ് കുറച്ച് ഹൈറ്റ് ഉള്ള സ്ഥലമാണ്. സോ rainfall is caused there. But in the case of Thar platform, the only relief feature is Aravalli. The only relief feature is Aravalli, but monsoon winds flows like this, and it is blowing parallel to the Aravalli ranges. So in these regions you will get some rain, but all these parts there is nothing. There is no landform of higher relief to prevent, to obstruct the wind and cause rainfall. That has resulted in the development of desert kind of climatic system in the Thar platform. Okay. Now the second one is Rajasthan Baga. This region represents semi-arid tropical grassland. It represents semi-arid tropical grassland climatic conditions, where the northern part is drained by Ghaggar. Okay, so one more thing we can add here is this Ghaggar, which is coming from this part. So Ghaggar and mythical Saraswati rivers. So Saraswati has disappeared. The southern part, the Luni and its tributaries drains the southern part. Luni river and its tributaries. Okay, so that is about what you call as the Central Highlands Lake Thar platform. Now the second one in this region would be, the second to consider, I'm going to consider is the Aravalli ranges. Okay, Aravalli ranges is another important landform or rather unit in the Central Highlands. So again we know so first of all we are writing about the origin of that region. We are not talking about the structure, that is lithology we can say, and the arrangement of that particular landform. We are also looking at the climatic characteristics in that region. Drainage we are looking into. So all these together combined, relief obviously, relief need to be looked at. So these are the factors which we have to understand with respect to any given landform. And whenever the question is asked, we can easily answer them. Now Aravalli is the origin namukariya. Proterozoic mobile beds ആണ്. Obviously the lithology of the region would be of the nature of igneous and metamorphic rocks. So you will mostly see granite, and these are the regions of why do we see like a lot of minerals, metallic minerals from the Aravalli belt. Copper ആണെങ്കിലും zinc ആണെങ്കിലും ഒക്കെ നമുക്ക് അവിടെ നിന്ന് കിട്ടാറുണ്ട്. Why? Why? Because these are regions of igneous and metamorphic rocks. Now, these hilly regions are there. So whenever there is basically erosion happening, the minerals that are found, metamorphic rocks in earth, igneous rocks in earth, magma എന്ന് വന്ന മിനറൽസ് മൊത്തം. അപ്പൊ ഈ ഇറോഷൻ നടന്നിട്ട് ഈ മിനറൽസ് ഒക്കെ ഈ ഹില്ലിന്റെ അടുത്ത് കൊണ്ട് ഡെപ്പോസിറ്റ് ചെയ്യും. ഇപ്പൊ കോപ്പർ ആണെങ്കിൽ കോപ്പർ, സിങ്ക് ആണെങ്കിൽ സിങ്ക് വിൽ ബി ഡെപ്പോസിറ്റഡ് in the vicinity of these mountain ranges. So in fact, over a period of time, ആ mountain range കുറഞ്ഞു വരുന്നത് നമ്മളാണ് ക്രേറ്റോൺസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഷീൽഡ് എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്നത്. കുറച്ചുകൂടി ആക്യുറേറ്റ് നെയിം ഷീൽഡ്. So peninsula is basically composed of shield regions. So ഇതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ് ഈ രാജസ്ഥാൻ ഡെസേർട്ടിന് അടുത്തുള്ള അരവല്ലിന് അടുത്തുള്ള സ്ഥലത്ത് ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ മിനറൽസ് കിട്ടുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് അരവല്ലി ഈസ് ഓൾസോ ഈസ് എ ഹൈലി മൈൻ റീജിയൻ. മൈൻ ചെയ്ത് അരവല്ലി എൻവയോൺമെന്റൽ ഡീഗ്രഡേഷൻ ഫേസ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. But nevertheless, we have seen the lithology of the region. Igneous and metamorphic rocks forms the Aravalli ranges, right? So then, if you look at this, the arrangement and the structure, the next structure, that is the arrangement. These are all fault mountains. Now, if you look at its shape, you can see it would be in the form of a triangle with the triangle would be the base would be the widest and tapers down towards the north. It moves from about the Rajasthan Gujarat border till Delhi കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ചെല്ലുന്നുണ്ട് റിഡ്ജസ് ആയിട്ട് ഇരിക്കുകയാണ്. So these are the extent of it. Normally the reliefs are low relief. In this part it reaches up to 1600 meters. We know the name of Guru Shikhar. But then moving forward, in the case Delhi ഒക്കെ ചെല്ലുമ്പോഴത്തേനും it's only a small ridge. നമ്മുടെ രാഷ്ട്രപതി ഭവൻ റസീന ഹിൽസ് ഒക്കെ ഈ സിറ്റുവേറ്റഡ് അലോങ് ദിസ് അരവല്ലിയുടെ ഡൽഹിയിലോട്ടുള്ള എക്സ്റ്റൻഷനിലാണ് നമ്മുടെ രാഷ്ട്രപതി ഭവനൊക്കെ ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. there it is not even a hill, it's just a ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു കുന്ന് മാത്രമാണ്, ചെറിയ ഒരു പ്ലെയിൻ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ലാൻഡിൽ പൊങ്ങിയിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സ്ഥലം മാത്രമാണ് what you call as the Aravallis. Okay, and it has also fan shaped ridges. So north it has several ridges. So ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് മോളോട് ചെല്ലുമ്പോൾ ഡൽഹിയൊക്കെ ridges ആയിട്ടാണ് എക്സിസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. And so these small ridges would be spread across the part. So some would be found in Haryana, some would be in Delhi. Okay, so that's basically structure of the Aravallis. Fine. And some of the factual information also need to be known. That is Guru Shikhar. And obviously the average altitude height can also be mentioned. So ഇത്രയും കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് നമുക്ക് ഓരോ യൂണിറ്റ്സിനെ കുറിച്ച് അറിയേണ്ടത്. ഇങ്ങനെ ഇത്രയും യൂണിറ്റ്സുകൾ പറഞ്ഞു പോവാ. നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ ഇതിന്റെ ക്ലൈമറ്റ് നോക്കാം. Climate can be seen. Thus causes more rainfall and more vegetation than the surrounding region. So it is one of the again agricultural regions, fairly agricultural region ആണ് അരവല്ലിയുടെ foothill zones. So അത്രയും കാര്യങ്ങൾ കൂടെ നോക്കാം. Okay, again we will write a few points on Aravalli also. The central highlights of regions മൊത്തം നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. ബാക്കി regions നമുക്ക് സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് ചെയ്യാവുന്നതേ. Aravalli ranges. Now Aravallis represents an old fault mountain. Aravallis represents an old fault mountain which is nearing the peneplain stage of development. Just nearing the peneplain stage of development, which was formed about 2.1 billion years ago. So if you look at the formation history, Aravallis were formed in stages. Including first one, early Proterozoic era upliftment, that is 2.1 million years ago. Early Proterozoic era upliftment. The second one is late Proterozoic era upliftment, or what you call as the Delhi orogeny. So what is these ridges that we see? These ridges are being created during Delhi orogeny. It was later happening 70 million years ago. Okay. In fact, 700 million years ago. 700 million years ago. That was a Delhi orogeny. And third one is the Quaternary period where rejuvenation has occurred. Quaternary rejuvenation. Third one is the Quaternary regeneration, which has again uplifted the uplifted the Aravallis in the southern part. Now you can look at the structure of it. Structure of Aravallis. Aravallis represents fan folding. Fan folded arrangement. Fan fold is like normally there is a syncline and the syncline platform. There is the fold mountain, but the erosional cycle of Davis. But when this then the situation changes, right? As the erosion proceeds, erosion would be higher in this part, and the higher the erosion, the anti-synglines would be reversed. So depression would be found here, and here since erosion is very low, higher altitude would be found here. So this is a second stage of erosion, right? Folded structure like I think Davis in pala theories, Davis normal theory, Davis theory, second structure importance arrangement importance fold mountain or erosion cycle cyclone anti-cyclone and syncline anti-syncline reverse ചെയ്യും നേരത്തെ എവിടെയായിരുന്നു പീക്ക് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത് അവിടെ the trough വരുന്നു and നേരത്തെ എവിടെയാ trough ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത് അവിടെ പീക്ക് വരുന്നു so Aravalli എവിടെയാണ് നേരത്തെ Aravalli was this the younger stage the mature stage mature old age the shape of the landform would be reversed so where there was crust that would have been reversed so Aravallis are in this fan folded state. So that is why we are saying it's a fan Aravallis represents a fan folding stage in the arrangement, in the shape of with respect to the slope. Arrangement is about slope, how the slope is arranged. Okay, I hope you are clear on that. That's a small concept from geomorphology again. There is this hill, fold mountain. It's normally like this. And as erosion happens, erosion would be higher in this part because അവിടെയാണ് കൂടുതൽ elevation ഉള്ള കൂടുതൽ എന്താണ് weathering erosion deposition ഒക്കെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ weathering erosion നടക്കുന്നത് ഇവിടെയായിരിക്കും but over a period of time since here there is very high erosion and there is very low erosion in the valley part this region would be converted itself into the trough zone. So the syncline and anti-syncline has actually reversed. So that's the one occurring here, and this is known by the name fan fold. Now look at the lithology, types of rocks. Arrangement lithology igneous and metamorphic formations. Igneous and metamorphic rocks forms the core of Aravallis. Igneous and metamorphic rocks forms the core of Aravallis. Rocks like granite and gneiss. Rocks like granite and gneiss represents the are represented in the batholith. Batholith എന്താ നമുക്കറിയാം എന്താണ് എവിടെയാണ് volcanic deposition നടക്കുന്നത് അതുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് ഇന്റീരിയറിൽ നടക്കുന്ന volcanic deposition ആയിട്ടുള്ള കുറെ ഫീച്ചേഴ്സ് ലാക്കോലിത്ത് പാത്തോലിത്ത് എന്നൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ പഠിച്ചായിരുന്നു ആ സംഭവമാണ് batholith. For Aravalli there is granite and gneiss representing batholith related metamorphism or rejuvenation. So these are basically relic mountains, all fold mountains or relief. Now, towards the southern part, Aravallis are broader and higher. Broader and higher, due to which they get greater precipitation and has forested landscape. Precipitation കൂടുതലാണ്, നല്ല altitude ഉണ്ടാവുന്നത് rain clouds obstruct ചെയ്തിട്ട് monsoon clouds obstruct ചെയ്ത് rainfall കിട്ടാനുള്ള scope ആ region ഉണ്ട്. Further north, they are divided into fan-shaped ridges, which breaks the monotonicity of Indo-Gangetic plains and gives impression of the extension of Aravallis into the Indo-Gangetic plains. So like average relief about 600 meter would be there, and then you can also see the highest peak, that is peak of Guru Shikhar, that is found again in the base region of the Aravallis. Guru Shikhar, Mount Abu is there, which is a pilgrimage center of Jains. Okay, so those are some of the features about Aravalli mountain range. So for idea, like these are the factors we have to look for. Or the origin എങ്ങനെയാണ്, structure എങ്ങനെയാണ്, and when you are writing answer, you can add more points. You can bring in agriculture of that region. Okay, that can bring in climate നമ്മൾ ചെയ്തു. Similarly, നമുക്ക് Malwa Plateauവിന്റെ കാര്യം കൂടി ഒന്ന് എഴുതാം. Now, Malwa is found in this part. This is a Malwa Plateau. Malwa Plateau was formed at the closing of Mesozoic period. Malwa Plateau was formed at the base of the closing of Mesozoic period, along with the formation of Maharashtra Plateau from the reunion hotspot volcanism. The magma in place during the period was very hot. The magma in place during the period was very hot and fluid, very hot and fluid, due to which it traveled far north, leading to the formation of the lava traps, Deccan traps. Deccan traps other feature തന്നെയാണ് മാൾവയിലുള്ള. You have this black soil region which is formed from basaltic soils, and അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ് Malwa region you see a lot of soil degradation, badland topography, because these basaltic rocks are highly erodible. Another characteristics of rocks, rocks characteristics പറയുമ്പോൾ basaltന്റെ ഒരു feature ആണ് basalt പെട്ടെന്ന് limestone അത്ര ഇല്ലെങ്കിലും limestone പോലെ പെട്ടെന്ന് erode ആകുന്നു under water conditions. Water fluvial erosion പെട്ടെന്ന് erode ആകുന്ന rocks ആണ് basaltic rocks. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ് ഈ region മാൾവയിലൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് badlands കാണാൻ പറ്റും. അതുപോലെ തന്നെയാണ് മഹാരാഷ്ട്രയിൽ നമുക്ക് ridge valley topography കാണാൻ പറ്റും Maharashtra plateaus. Okay. The Malwa Plateau generally slope towards the north. towards the north, towards slope towards the north to the Indo-Gangetic plains. It has an average elevation of about 600 meters in the south. So it is obviously it would be loftier in the south because it has 600 meter and 400 meter in the north, because and that's why the rivers are flowing in a northward direction. North it has like an altitude of about 400 meters. Right? Then you have to look at the lithology of the region. Lithology. Mauna Picchu is formed by basaltic rocks. Basaltic rocks which are susceptible to erosion. Basaltic rocks which are susceptible to erosion. This high susceptibility to erosion has led to the development of badland topography. This has led to the development of badland topography. Badland topography characterized by steep, dry valleys, steep and dry valleys caused by soil erosion. Caused by soil erosion. This makes the region unsuitable for less suitable for agriculture, and living and habitation and inhabitation, thus making it a badland, thus rendering it a badland topography. അപ്പോൾ ഓരോ രീതിയിലും ഓരോ സ്ഥലത്താണ് ഇഗ്നിയസ് റോക്സ് ആണെങ്കിലും ആരവല്ലി ഭയങ്കര ഹാർഡാണ്, ക്രിസ്റ്റലാണ്, ഹാർഡ് റോക്സ് ആണ്. But on the other hand, if you look at similarly at Malwa Plateau, which is also having igneous rocks, basalt is an igneous rocks, but which is highly susceptible to water erosion. So the different structural lithological factors that are found in these two regions, or any region for that matter, will be having high impact on its other factors, its economy. So Malwa Plateau is again a badland region. Chambal ഒക്കെ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് കുറച്ചും കൂടി ഒരു ഡെക്കോയിറ്റി ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, കുറച്ചും കൂടെ പോവർട്ടി ഒക്കെ ഉള്ള സ്ഥലങ്ങളാണ്. Because agriculture is okay, because agriculture is not so productive when we consider the poor fertility of this badland, these soils in the badland topography. Okay, so soil erosion is rampant. Now, നമ്മൾ എഴുതി. Then I'll okay, package. So these are a couple of things that we have to look at when we talk about a particular landform and its structure and other factors. So structure, relief, drainage, these things must be known to us. So we try to pick up all these things. with respect to different landforms. So that is about the Central Highlands. You can also look into there were two more ones in this Central Highland region itself. That is the Bundelkhand uplands. There's the Bundelkhand uplands, and then here also the Vindhyas. These four units comprise together to form the Central Highlands. So we must be knowing the characteristics of each of these ones. But then there is not much of need to elaborate everything in that class here because it will take too much time. So we'll make a broad couple of notes. We'll note out a couple of points, just that, and then make sure you're working with your Kuller. Read things from Kuller, so you will come across such points and note that down. So we'll just dictate a few things which are important in that regard. We'll have an overview on these things. In the Vindhya and Satpura part, that's right, Vindhya and Satpura part, the host graben topography, and we are referring to the rifting episodes, right? Graben is the Rift Valley, host is the block mountain that is formed. As given, a block mountain characteristics to Vindhyas and Satpuras. The Vindhyan range forms a low-lying host with average elevation of 600 meter. Average elevation of 600 meter, comprised mainly of limestone rocks. And forms this and Vindhyas forms a significant water divide which has a radial pattern of drainage. The pattern of drainage is one. Now, one thing about Vindhyas is that Vindhyas is a block mountain, so it's like a circular one. So the rivers are flowing in every direction. So some rivers flow towards the Tapi Narmada system. Some flows towards the in the form of Juni to the Mahi to the west. Some flow towards the Chambal, Sindh, Kandwa in the sense towards the north. So rivers are flowing in all directions, which has led to dissection of the Vindhyan lands into different small mountains. So in fact, mostly when we say about Vindhyas and Satpura, we have individual mountains in that unit. This is because of the water, the rivers eroding the mountains as such. Okay. It is due to the river dissection that Vindhyan range is divided into Vindhyan scrapland, Kaimur Hills, Kaimur Hills, Amarkandak, etc. Okay. So that is about Vindhya. We'll also further write about Satpura a few words too. Demarcated by the river Narmada to its south. Demarcated by the river Narmada to its south. The Vindhyan range paves way to Vindhyan range paves way to its southern counterpart called Satpura. Which has an average elevation of about 1,300 meters. Although it has been a fault mountain formed in the Proterozoic period, although it is a fault mountain formed in the Proterozoic period, the present day mountain-like feature is related to the block mountain characteristics. It's related to the block mountain characteristic created by the Narmada Rift Valley to the north and Tapi Rift Valley to the south. As for the structure of the Satpura mountains or Satpura ranges, it is primarily composed of crystalline, granite and gneiss rocks. Right. There's also presence of sedimentary rocks like limestone and marble. The western part of Satpura is also covered by basaltic lava similar to the Maharashtra plate. Satpura is also characterized by dissection of the mountain range by different rivers. So you have the Rajpipila, Satpura, you have the Maikal range. To the south, you have the Gauligat ranges, and then you have the Amarkandak. And in the Amarkandak region, both Vindhyas and the Satpura comes together. So these are also dissected old mountain ranges where you see the rivers dissecting it, and instead of being a single mountain range like the Western Ghats for that matter, or more so in the case of Himalayas, these are hills. More mountains are hill ranges, which are which are found to be in coastal vicinity. So that is about Satpura. See, so we have seen basically these are kind of more factual thing. ഇങ്ങനത്തെ കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ ആ ഒരു ഉണ്ടാക്കിയെടുത്ത ഫ്രെയിംവർക്ക് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, ആ ഫ്രെയിംവർക്കിലേക്ക് കണ്ടന്റ് കുത്തിത്തിരിക നിറച്ചു വെക്കുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ് നമുക്കിവിടെ ചെയ്യാനുള്ള കാര്യം. ഒറിജിൻ, സ്ട്രക്ചർ, അറേഞ്ച്മെന്റ്, relief, climatic characteristics, drainage, plus you can also bring in human aspects, the type of agriculture that is found there, the type of development that is there. Although structure and relief is mostly physical geography, and the footnote at when you're writing an answer to add couple of more points, you can because of the physical geography is like this, structure is like this, couple of these things can also be visible with respect to what you call as human geography theory. Another footnote I don't read that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is that we are going to have a quick look at the different parts of the peninsula. We're not going to write it like this. Just ഒന്ന് നോക്കി പോവാം, അതിന്റെ ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഫീച്ചേഴ്സ് ഏതൊക്കെയാണെന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് എന്താ പറയുക നോട്ട് ചെയ്ത് വെക്കൂ, ഡിക്റ്റേഷൻ ആയിട്ട് എഴുതണ്ട, and ബാക്കി you can fill up from. So this will help you to like quickly read through these articles when you're to the papers when you're looking at fuller. So we'll see the basic features about each of these units of the peninsula. Okay, so the second one you have to look at is the Deccan Plateau. So we have seen the Central Highlands in detail. Now Deccan Plateau in the Bhagavatul unit is Satpura. So we have also seen Satpura. Then we come to the basaltic province. Okay, the Deccan basaltic province. Mostly we have the Karnataka Plateau, and above that we have the Maharashtra Plateau. So Maharashtra Plateau is what we call as the basaltic plateau. The Maharashtra Plateau. Now Maharashtra Plateau is characterized by what? The outpouring of lava from hotspot volcanism that is there. And another point I've already made is that it's an outlier peninsula in the form of Kathiawar Peninsula. So if you look at here, this is the Western Ghats, this is the Maharashtra Plateau, and this is the Kathiawar Plateau. So these are both similar plateaus created by the outpouring of what you call as the reunion hotspot volcanism that can be found. Now, since the structure, I think I've mentioned already, structure is basaltic in nature, there is differential erosion. The erosion is really quick, really sharp in this region. That leads to this ridge and valley topography. It is not as severe as Malwada കേസിലുള്ള അത്രയും എന്താ പറയുക eroded dissected alla, so there is badland topography is limited, but you have this ridge and valley topography where you have the Ajanta hills, you have the Satmala hills, you have the Harishchandra hills. So it is divided into different hill units. So it's not a single plateau. Even the Maharashtra Plateau is it's a single plateau, but it is in a ridge and valley topography. You can find it, right? So that is about the Maharashtra Plateau. Things to remember is another thing to remember is the basaltic, so the black soil that is found there. Black soil is made possible because of the basaltic rock. Prelims ചോദ്യമായിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു basaltic rock in എന്താണ് weathering നടന്നുണ്ടാകുന്ന soil ആണ് black soil, and it has its own different properties like what self plowing capacity in summer by the creation of what wide cracks. So water holding capacity and high water holding capacity, and because of that, it holds a lot of water. In summer season, when it becomes dry, the soil gets thick and gets broken, and there will be formation of wide cracks, and these cracks will let oxygen to get into the different inner layers of the soil, and that's what we mean as self-flowing capacity. Okay, these are things that you study in GS. അത്ര തന്നെ മതി, അതിൽ കൂടുതൽ വേറെ ഫൈനൽ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് ഒന്നും നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ പോകേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. Then the next one we have is the Karnataka Plateau. Okay, now Karnataka Plateau, one thing that other things are common. It is not basaltic in nature, but one thing we can observe is there is this Maidan classification. So there is Malnad, which is and there is Maidan. Malnad is the one that is found in the foothills of Western Ghats, which is of higher elevation, and obviously these will be getting higher rainfall. Okay. On the other hand, Maidan is more lowland, which is receiving less rainfall and more arid conditions. So there is two type of parts with respect to the Karnataka Plateau, and mostly these are all in the rain shadow belt of Western Ghats. And these are again crystalline rocks, because it's one thing more about Karnataka Plateau is that it is formed by the cratons that we the Dharwad Craton. So these are crystalline in nature. Now another, since these are cratons or shield area that has been there, these are regions of high mineral deposits. That is metallic minerals, not oils and things like that, but high prevalence of metallic minerals are found in this region. So that's why you have several iron ore mines like Baba Budan Hills, like Vichkamalipur region, the Kudarmukh region, and maybe you have the KGF Kolar Goldfields. All these are regions where you see what mineral deposits, and the reason for that is the structure of the region. The shield region, which is it is because of the very old history of the peninsula, it is a shield region. So that again, that's why you have that much of mineral deposits here. So again, that's an extension of the physical setting, physical geography of the region that can be understood, right? Similarly, we can study about Western Ghats also. What is origin? Origin namukariya faulting during the Quaternary period. Faulting has led to a creation of escarpment. Escarpments are mountains with one side very steep slope and very gentle slope to the other side, mostly formed by the episodes of rifting or faulting. These are escarpments. Now, if you look at the Western Ghats as such, Western Ghats north-south extension, Western Ghats starts from the Tapi Rift Valley. So if Tapi is here, from that point till the Kanyakumari region, Western Ghats is existing as a continuous mountain chain with only few gaps, like you know about the Talgat Borgat gap, the Palgat gap, and the Shangota. Except for these few gaps, it's a continuous mountain range, and it's almost a perfect water debit. Perfect water debit. Right. Now, if you look at the altitude of the relief features of Western Ghats, you can see that the Western Ghats is higher in its north and southern extent. In northern extent, it will somewhere around 1,200 meter, around average will be there. Here, there will be an average of 600 meters, and in this part, you have an average of 2,500 meters. So the Western Ghats is higher in the south. Western Ghats is most loftiest in the south, and for that you have another reason, that is what is known as the Southern Hill Complex. Now, southern hill complex, we know, like the Nilgiri Hills, the Palani Hills, and the Anamudi Hills. All these are combining together. In fact, you know that the Eastern Ghats are joining the Western Ghats in the hill complex region. Now, hill complex is very high. It's loftier because there was magma again. Rejuvenation was there again. We see this rejuvenation happening in the period of Himalayan orogeny, in the tertiary period. So there was also rejuvenation in the southern hill complex and magma emplacement. Magma emplacement as what? As sorry, magma emplacement as batholith. So that has again led to the what? അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് southern part, നമ്മുടെ Kerala, Tamil Nadu border regions, and somewhat about to the south of Maharashtra, sorry, Karnataka plateau, you have this very lofty hill ranges in the form of Western Ghats. അത് കുറച്ച് വെസ്റ്റേൺ ഘട്ട്സോ ഡിഫറൻസ് ഉണ്ട്, സദേൺ കോംപ്ലക്സ് ആണ്. അത് ഇത് ഈ കാരണങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടാണ്. എന്താണ് ദി മാഗ്മ എംപ്ലേസ്മെന്റ് ആൻഡ് again the rejuvenation of the height of the mountain ranges there. ഗോവയുടെ റീജിയനിലാണ് the middle Western Ghats, as the Goa region will be having the least of height. Okay. So അത്രയും കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് അതിൻ്റെ അത് പറയാനുള്ളത്. പ്രധാന ഇനി ബാക്കി വരുന്ന റീജിയൻസും ഏകദേശം ഇതുപോലെ തന്നെയാണ്. We have the Eastern Ghats region, which is again what you call as an extension of the Deccan and the Plateau likewise. So you will see similar kind of properties. You will see crystalline rocks there. You will see the relief feature and sloping towards the Bay of Bengal. These features remain the same. So my suggestion is that നമുക്ക് സമയത്തിന് പോസിറ്റീവ് ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് you can just read this. This is very factual content. അത്ര ഞാൻ ഇത്ര നാളും പറഞ്ഞ അത്രയും കണ്ടന്റ്, ആ ഒരു സ്ട്രക്ചർ വെച്ചിട്ടുള്ള കണ്ടന്റ് ഒന്ന് എഴുതി വെച്ചാൽ മതി. It's a very factual thing. There's nothing much to explain here. Yeah, and also let me give you some of the important plateaus here. എല്ലാ പ്ലേറ്റ്യൂസും ഒരുപോലെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് അല്ല. You have the central highlands and the properties of it is important. The Deccan Plateau, in that Maharashtra Plateau is particularly important for exam perspective. Then another plateau that is there is the Chota Nagpur Plateau and Meghalaya Plateau. Meghalaya for its peculiar geological history, where it got detached from the Peninsula Plateau, is important. And then you have the Chota Nagpur Plateau. These are the regions which you have to basically look at. രണ്ടെണ്ണം കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ ഡീൽ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞു. ഇതുപോലെ തന്നെ ചോട്ടാ നാഗ്പൂർ പ്ലേറ്റും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് നോക്കുക, മേഘാലയ പ്ലേറ്റും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് നോക്കുക. സോ ബൈ ദാറ്റ് basically you can understand the different structural and relief features of the the Peninsula Plateau of India. And if at all a comparative kind of question is put forward, you can easily compare. Mostly comparative questions ആണ് സാധ്യത. ചോട്ടാ നാഗ്പൂറും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ബുന്ദേൽഖണ്ഡുമായിട്ട് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മഹാരാഷ്ട്ര പ്ലേറ്റും ആയിട്ടുള്ള കമ്പാരിസൺ നോക്കുക. So there you can mention about the origin story, the structure of the rocks, that is the lithology or the arrangement of the rocks, the type of what do you plus. Maybe you can also mention type of soil there, because soil is just another function of the climate and the structure you find there. You can talk about climate. So these much features need to be there, and then other features like maybe presence of minerals. If you're looking at Chota Nagpur Plateau, again minerals are there in huge numbers. Then again you can give reasons. So the reasons of it being a craton, Singhbum craton, you can mention that. From last day's class we have studied that. Chota Nagpur Plateau വരുന്ന സ്ഥലത്താണ് Singhbum craton ഉള്ളത്. So you can mention that. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ആ ഒരു മൊബൈൽ ഹിൽ റേഞ്ച് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു അല്ലെ, ചോട്ടാ നാഗ്പൂരിന്റെ അവിടെ തന്നെ ആരവല്ലി, സത്പുര, ചോട്ടാ നാഗ്പൂർ ഹിൽ റേഞ്ച് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, അത് മെൻഷൻ ചെയ്യാം. And then you can talk about the Gondwana rifting episode, Mahanadiilekku varumbo, that again created coal deposits here. You can mention that. So in this regard, these questions can be answered. So അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഫാക്ച്വൽ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ അതിന് കൂടുതൽ പോകുന്നില്ല. I would like to take about the coastline of India. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഒന്ന് നോക്കാം, ഒരു കമ്പാരിറ്റീവ് അനാലിസിസ് ഓഫ് ദി എവല്യൂഷൻ ഓഫ് കോസ്റ്റ്ലൈൻ. Okay, briefly putting in the evolution of India's coastline. Earlier, the peninsula as a whole constituted a single unit with respect to the other continents that were there. So all these were together. Maybe the supercontinent of Pangaea, then the supercontinent of Gondwana. These were the all these were single continents. So there is not much scope for evolution of coastline, right? Because coastline would come into picture when the peninsula unit have been split apart. So this evolution start with the breaking up of these continents, the Gondwana continent especially. That has led to the creation of the India's coastline. So it first was in the Jurassic period. About the Jurassic period, peninsula started northward movement, and this first to break off was the Antarctica and Australian continent. That led to the creation of eastern coastline. Once this part has been broken away, eastern coastline is developed. Now, eastern coastline, you have this eastern Ghats here. So the deposition of material from the eastern Ghats will lead to the creation of what? The coastline. So this is how the eastern coastline has developed. Then the next stage was, the second stage was the development of western coastline. Okay, that was when the Madagascar broke away. Okay, Madagascar broke away from Indian Peninsula. Madagascar, if you look at, would have been come up the southern part like Karnataka, Kerala part of Madagascar would have been there. And when it was moving northward, peninsula is moving northward, right? And at that point of time, Madagascar also split away. That led to the development of western coastline. Okay, this is the formation of western coastline. Then another phenomenon that happened was that the faulting phenomenon. Faulting and creation of western Ghats. In this period, the faulting also happened into the Arabian Sea region. Okay, so that led to the rise of sea level and the development of Kerala coast as we see today. Kerala coast, there was like further modification. Then another episode was on the eastern side was the development of Malda Gap. Okay, Malda Gap has developed into what? So that has altered the shape of peninsula. There was peninsula was extending till the west Meghalaya plateau. Now here you have the development of a deltaic plain. So this Malda plain gap has been created, and there, due to the deposition of a lot of soil, alluvial soil, it got transformed itself into a sedimentary base or a plain region. So in that regard, again, the shape of the coastline has changed. So coastline of India has passed through these 3 to 4 stages in its growth. First of all, it was the eastern coastline form, then the western coastline form, and then with the faulting along the western Ghats margin, the shape of western coastline has changed. Similarly, with the faulting in the Malda Gap region, the shape of eastern coastline has also changed. Okay. And obviously, അതിന്റെ കൂടെ തന്നെ നമുക്ക് പറയാവുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് നമ്മുടെ എന്താ പറയുക the river formation and delta extension. Like if you look in the eastern coastline, you can always see the Krishna, the Godavari, and the other rivers are extending. They are putting more and more sedimentary soil there, and the delta is extending into the Bay of Bengal region. So still it is growing. The deltas are the eastern and western coastline are still evolving. Okay. So I think a few general characteristics of these coastlines can be understood, and a few comparisons can be made, which and couple of notes I'll dictate after break. നമുക്ക് അടുത്ത സെഷനിലോട്ട് വരുമ്പോൾ തന്നെ ഞാൻ എടുക്കാം. Now to get into Himalayas, that's one area which is again we need some evolutionary history പഠിക്കാനുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. ഹിമാലയം കൂടെ പഠിക്കാം. And then another important area we have to deal with is monsoon. Monsoon would be very important from a conceptual point of view. In the thing, conceptually important that the monsoon. Baki Indian geography mostly we have to go and pick up these facts and examples and concepts like that. And then we have to basically link it with current affairs. So that's the demand here. So since it is factual, models and theories Indian physical resources we can broadly mention these things and go ahead. Right. 450 ആയി ഇനിയിപ്പോ എനിക്ക് അതിനകത്ത് ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ പറയാനുള്ള സമയമില്ല. Okay, anything you want to ask or like any doubts that you have? Okay, anything? Okay, now നമുക്ക് ആ ഒരു ബ്രേക്ക് എടുക്കാം. നമ്മൾ അടുത്ത സെഷൻ എപ്പോഴാണ്? 6:30 അല്ലേ?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 6:30. So we'll assemble back by 6:30 and we'll note out few more things there and then we'll move to Himalayan. Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.